Hi, I'm Mike Arbuthnot. I'm a professional archaeologist. I'm in Florida, but I'm actually originally from Northern California. And as a kid, I grew up being fascinated by history, by the past in general. Now, when I went to college at University of California at Santa Barbara, I studied philosophy because at that point I thought I was going to be a lawyer. So anyway, I get my degree and I get into the work world, and I found myself really longing to do exciting things with my life, longing to do things like explore the Titanic, go to Easter Island, see the pyramids. And I wasn't going to be satisfied unless I could. And so I decided, got to go to grad school. So I went to Florida State University, where I got a master's degree in underwater archaeology. And as a professional, I've done terrestrial archaeology, and I've done underwater archaeology, and I've done television hosting. I recently hosted a show for the Travel Channel called Secret Worlds with Michael Arbuthnot. I think myths and legends are fascinating, and one of the things that I find most intriguing about them is the fact that often they're grounded in truth. Let's just say that the Knights Templar, for example, having done a show on the Knights Templar for Secret Worlds, I learned a tremendous amount about the Knights, both historical facts and the mythology that go along with the Knights Templar. Where does fact end and fiction begin? It's a blurry line, and it becomes very difficult as an archaeologist trying to dig, so to speak, the truth from the myth. But that's part of the challenge, and I think part of the intrigue of being an archaeologist is being faced with that challenge, those obstacles. It's difficult for me not to talk about Titanic when it comes to interesting archaeological expeditions, because my expedition to Titanic in 2005 was life-changing. I'll tell you what I think was one of the most fascinating aspects of it. Titanic is way out there in the North Atlantic. It's 2.5 miles underwater. It takes 2 days to get there by boat alone, and another 2 hours from your surface vessel to get down to the ruins of Titanic on the ocean floor. And when you get there and you approach Titanic in your submersible, and suddenly her bow looms out of the darkness above you, it seemed so out of place. This shipwreck from the Edwardian 20th century, they're like a monolith underwater. It seemed so unnatural and surreal, if you will. And to me, that drove home the tragic reality of what Titanic was. It was a catastrophe. Titanic shouldn't have been there. So thinking about Titanic abstractly and then being there in person and experiencing Titanic definitely were two different emotional experiences for me. And I think as an archaeologist, that's something that I'll never forget. What archaeological sites or artifacts do I find fascinating? There's a lot. Most of the megalithic sites I find to be mind-boggling, and one example is the stone at Baalbek in Lebanon. I mean, this stone, it weighs 250 tons. It's the largest single megalith in the world. How did they move that? I have no idea. It's a fascinating subject, an engineering feat, so to speak. Of course, the big stone heads on Easter Island, the Moai, again, this is a mystery to archaeologists. The Oak Island Money Pit in Nova Scotia, that's not a megalithic site, but that's a fascinating archaeological site. It's baffled archaeologists for 100 plus years. I have done extensive traveling. In fact, just in the last 2 years, I've been to Guatemala, Belize, India, England, Scotland, France, Jordan, Israel, Easter Island, Chile, and a few other places. And I went to some of those places twice, as a matter of fact. So I've done extensive travel, many, many fascinating places along the way. It's hard to pick a favorite, but Guatemala was an incredible experience. I had a lot of fun there. I actually had a kind of a funny story where I had received a blessing from a Maya shaman, and I had no idea what was about to happen, but the blessing entailed her spitting rum on me. So I don't know how well the blessing worked, but I certainly got a nice little contact high. I also had a really wonderful time on Easter Island, and I think there, probably one of the most memorable moments was getting with the Rapa Nui and actually doing a series of dances around a fire and doing an earth oven fire cookout experience. And you can see I got native. Do I have any artifacts from my travels? Well, I have a lot of memorabilia, things that I picked up along the way. But as you may know, it's questionably ethical for an archaeologist to actually possess an artifact. This is something that's a no-no. So, but I did bring something to show you because I do have something that's pretty interesting. This right here, this is my favorite little keepsake. Looks like a shot glass, doesn't it? This was my coffee cup on the morning of July 3rd, 2005, right before I did my dive to Titanic. So it used to be about that big, but 5,600 pounds per square inch pressure turned my coffee cup into a shot glass. So I love this little bit, and I always show it to people and give them a sense of how important it is to stay in the submarine. Well, I think the Holy Grail is a fascinating subject because nobody really knows what it was. Having studied the Knights Templar, I kind of have that picture of the Holy Grail, which was that it indeed was a chalice, which was present at the Last Supper, and of course Jesus and the apostles drank from this chalice, and it had certain powers, if you will. The story of the Knights Templar is that it was actually part of the Templar treasure. Of course, the other end of the Holy Grail story is that the Holy Grail was, in fact, not a grail at all, but represented the bloodline of Christ, and was the gene, the offspring of Jesus and Mary Magdalene. Am I right for the show? I think so. I have an incredible curiosity, passion, and enthusiasm for the past. And growing up as a kid, I wanted to be an archaeologist. I wanted adventure. I wanted to get out there and do something different, to live outside the box. And I have. I've visited Titanic. I've been to the pyramids. I've seen Easter Island and the huge heads, the moai. It has been a tremendously exciting and rewarding career for me. And I love doing television work. I can do the research. I can perform and deliver on camera, and I think I'm your man for the show.